What's happening, party people? Welcome to Blues Lawyer Confessional. This is Jack.
And this is Matt Esquire.
Well, Matt, there's a weird rumor I saw, and I don't know where it came from, but the internet is telling me that Gibson guitar may be up for sale or maybe purchased, or something is happening with Gibson. And I wanted to, and I know in our discussions you had feelings about why that was probably not true, but please explain for me and the folks at home.
As Abraham Lincoln famously said, don't believe everything you read on the internet. This really is one of those things. From what it appears, and I know that they discussed it on 60 Cycle, the rumor itself came from basically the comment section of a podcast on YouTube saying,
That's where the most enlightened conversations come from, is the comment section in YouTube.
oh, absolutely. And this one was one to the effect of, I heard from a guy who's got a really good in with Gibson that Gibson is putting themselves up for sale. That obviously sounds truly authentic, pun intended, but a little bit of research though, I just don't buy it. In fact, actually, about a week ago, as of the taping of this, about a week ago, KKR, which is the private equity fund that currently owns Gibson, they made their chief financial officer, who was serving in an interim capacity, they made that permanent. And the way I'm thinking, if they are going to be putting their own person permanently on the board or as an officer, then they're not looking to get out of that business. They did explore trying to spin it off or get someone to purchase it. That was a few years ago, though, when there was a big boom, but bloom's off the rose right now. So I don't see that. And then also, if you look at what they recently did, which was the successful, hopefully, relaunch of their amplifier line, the Mesa Boogie purchase, you're not going to, start up a whole new line and then just say, and now we're done.
Or you sell off the amps as a different purchase. Like, I've watched enough episodes of Succession to know that, no amount of bloat can make you unpurchasable, right? So, you know the Gibson Falcon amps, lower watt tube amps that harken back to a simpler time. There's a 10-inch speaker version and a 12-inch speaker version. Currently, the 12-inch speakers, they don't look like they're currently available in Sweetwater, but you can get the 7-watt 10-inch amp for just under $1,500 at $14.99 at Sweetwater. At this moment, not sponsored content, no affiliate links, so don't click anything. But, if you're in the market for a boutique small watt tube amp, these are priced favorably in the market. If you're looking at comparable amps, which I will flash on the screen now, the magic of editing, these are right in there, if not lower priced than comparable amps. So, Matt, I'm not in the market for a new amp at this moment. I already have a small, you can call it vintage Gibson amp. But these are cool. And if I had $2,000, I would invest $1,800 in the 12-watt, 12-inch amp. How about you?
I think that's really kind of where the market is nowadays. Between the Boss Katanas and the Kempers, it's people aren't going to be buying JCM 900s and 4x12 cabinets anymore. Those are
well, then wouldn't you argue that the market is more towards modeling? So why is Gibson releasing an authentic low watt tube blues box when it doesn't even have I don't think it even has an effects loop?
because I think that's where the actual amplifier market's going to be heading nowadays. I mean, it's basically the vinyl of guitars right now.
You're leaning into the boutique realm because no one's buying the triple Rex that they also now own. The lunchbox rectifier doesn't quite do the same thing that the triple rec did for me back in the day. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah, but there's something to be said for a little 5-watt amp. I have an AC10. It's a fun little amp. I got my eyes on a little 5-watt that was built here in Maryland, down in Southern Maryland, and I think that's where you're going to find people. is, hey, I do want to plug in, but I don't want to be blasting my eardrums. My kids are asleep. Maybe I just want to be in the basement quietly noodling.
Yes, but even a 10-inch speaker is still going to be like disruptive to the mojo of a townhouse, apartment, condo, family. I think in the end, it's. I think you're right. I think it serves the future of authentic amps, right? Because if you're really going for truly high gain, you have to have a special situation where you can crank up your rev generator, your giant 6505 reissue to really capture that high gain. And most folks get a good enough version of that through a modeler. But if you're really feeling like you want to spend the time in the glow of your tubes, a small watt, vintage looking cream Tolex amp that has a cute little handle on it and probably weighs under 20 pounds could be the future.
On top of that, let's be honest, when you look back at the great recordings often weren't with the big full stacks. They were with a cranked 5-watt amp in the studio.
Yeah, I don't disagree. Got a lot of good run. Heck, my pig nose. I just want to look at some of the stats on this guy. So I'm looking at the 12 watt. They call the Falcon 20 is 12 watts, and it has a 12-inch speaker. It doesn't really, the numbers don't make sense to me, but
Yeah.
it was designed by Randall Smith and the Mesa Boogie group. This speaks to a clientele that's going to want a warm amp that is, and other fun words like harmonic, rich, searing tube saturation. Has four 12AX7s though. That's a lot of preamp. It looks like this has a built-in tremolo, and there's a reverb section as well. All driven by tubes. That makes sense. So the extra ones are for the tremolo and the reverb. Very cool.
I think they're taking on, the 800-pound gorilla that is Fender. I think they're going after the Fender Champ.
Basically $1,200.
Yep.
Yeah, so this is just marginally more expensive. I always thought about like at live venues playing shows, they're gonna mic up your amp no matter where you go generally, and so you're not doing anything when any favors having a giant amp, and in most cases they prefer smaller things or a modeler where they just plug you in and you just have to be in the
Yeah.
monitors. But this is cool. I think this isn't. Yeah, you could take this gigging, but this is like it's pretty. Like this is up there with the new Taylor acoustic amp you have in your living room, and people you don't have to go hide it when the guests come over. This is like, oh, this is you look like a professional adult who happens to play guitar once in a while. Be like, well, I am a blues lawyer, so thank you for noticing. You
Yeah.
know,
I
that's
mean,
that's that's the kind of style I think.
yeah, this really is them going after the high end, the sort of person who has a high end turntable. Hey, I don't need to blast my ears. I want to listen and enjoy the tone, which is in my fingers or what have you.
Yeah,
That's really where it's at, and I think Gibson is. I think they got their finger on the pulse there.
less fiddling, more
More playing.
playing.